He still dreams of you, but he reaches for her in the dark, as if her absence could silence your name. There is a woman he cannot let go, but it's not because he loves her. It's because he doesn't know how to stop losing. You feel him pull away when he gets too close, not because he doubts you, but because your love feels too clean for his shame. He touches your hand with a reverence that confuses you. He listens like he's starving. But when it's time to stay, he disappears behind a memory he never chose to keep. You think he's choosing her, but he's not. He's choosing the wound that looks like home. He's choosing the silence he memorized before he met you. He's choosing a ghost that never asked him to become real. Because with you, he would have to become visible. And visibility terrifies the boy who only knew how to earn scraps in the dark, who learned that love meant proving, performing, disappearing when it hurt too much. You are not too much. You are not the reason he pulls away. You are simply the first one who ever made him want to stay. And he doesn't know how to live in a world where love doesn't punish. So he holds her shadow while reaching for your light. But something is shifting. There is a war inside him now, and he is no longer certain which memory he belongs to. You can feel him thinking of you, even in silence, even when he vanishes without explanation. There's a pressure in your chest at 3 a.m., a phantom ache in your bones, a pull behind your ribs like someone whispering your name underwater. It's not your imagination. It's the weight of unspoken longing, because his soul has already turned toward you, but his body still kneels at an altar built from guilt. You don't want to compete. You don't want to chase, but your heart keeps circling the question, if he wants me, why does he disappear? You didn't imagine the way he looked at you. You didn't imagine the way his voice changed when you spoke. Something opened between you, and for a moment, he let it. But the past has claws, and he's still bleeding through old armor, still bowing to a love that asked him to disappear, still carrying promises he never meant to make. He thinks letting go of her means betrayal. He thinks choosing you means failure, because you make him feel something sacred. And sacred things ask us to rise. But rising feels like dying when all you've ever known is survival. You see his truth. You see the man underneath the silence, but even your love cannot cross the distance he still refuses to walk. And yet, he keeps coming back, in dreams, in memory, in the stillness between your thoughts, because part of him knows he was never meant to stay in the cage, knows the shape of your love is the life he never believed he deserved. And that knowing is waking him. He doesn't speak her name, but she's in the room with you, not in body, but in the way his eyes shift when you get too close, in the way his shoulders flinch when you love him too gently, in the way he holds you like you might vanish if he breathes too deeply. She's not the one in his arms, but she's still wrapped around his memory, like smoke, like a vow never broken, like a wound stitched with silence. And you feel it, the hesitation, the reverence, the rage he won't name. She is the ghost between you, not because he wants her, but because he still believes he failed her. And failure, that's the chain. He can't forgive himself for not being enough, not strong enough, not soft enough, not fast enough to stop the ending. So now, even your kindness cuts. Even your touch threatens to undo the armor he welded shut. Because you are not her, and yet you are. You are the mirror that shows him who he could have been if he had known love wasn't meant to break him. You are the echo of what he gave away before he knew how to receive it. And he is terrified, not of you, but of what you awaken. Because you remind him of the man he promised himself he'd never become again. The man who once tried, the man who once hoped, the man who once lost. So when he looks at you, he sees not just beauty, but the ruin he still carries in his chest. And still, he cannot look away. He opens, and then he vanishes. You feel his heart unclench for a breath. You feel the truth flicker behind his eyes. And just when you begin to trust it, he's gone. A text left unanswered. A sudden coldness in his voice. A delay that wasn't there before. And you begin to question everything. Was it real? Did I imagine it? Was I foolish to believe? But it was real. That moment, when his voice softened, when his hands stopped performing and simply held, when he looked at you like he remembered something sacred, that was not your imagination. That was his soul surfacing, and it terrified him, because no one ever stayed when he showed that part. And somewhere deep in his bones, he still believes intimacy is what happens before abandonment, so he punishes himself first, withdraws before you can, builds distance like a shelter, convinced it's the only way to stay safe. You think he's rejecting you, but he's really protecting the part of himself that still trembles at the sound of footsteps walking away. He wants to love you, but he also wants to disappear before the dream breaks. Because if he gives in to this, if he surrenders to the depth he feels with you, he will have to admit how much he's been starving. And hunger that deep feels dangerous. It makes him feel like a child again, small, needing, powerless. So instead of reaching, he retreats. Instead of asking, he hides. And the silence you feel after intimacy is not a lack of love. It's the scream of a heart that still doesn't know it's allowed to be held. There's a place inside him where even he refuses to go. A place made of silence, of split-second choices and swallowed tears, of moments where he needed something and learned it was safer not to ask. This is where his shame sleeps, not loud, not visible, but heavy, like soaked cloth against the soul. And when you love him, you press against that hidden weight, not because you hurt him, but because your presence invites him to feel what he buried long ago. You ask for nothing, and still he panics, because he was taught that love is earned, that closeness requires sacrifice, that being wanted without needing to perform is a trick with a price he can't afford to pay again. You touch him where his worth was once questioned. You remind him of the boy who tried so hard to be enough and still came home to silence. So he pulls away. Not because you're wrong, but because you feel too right. And rightness is unbearable when you've made your home in unworthiness. He watches you love him and it hurts, because it contradicts the story he carved into his chest. A story that says, I must prove, or I will be left. But you don't ask for proof. You don't demand performance. You just stay. And that staying is louder than any scream. It unravels him. Because part of him still believes that if you truly saw what he carries beneath the silence, you would leave too. So he hides what's sacred. He offers only fragments, not to deceive you, but to protect the part of himself that still believes he's unlovable when the lights are off. He looks calm, but there is a war beneath his stillness. You feel it. In the way he pauses before answering. in the way his breath changes when you ask something too soft, in the flicker of his eyes, like he's searching for an exit he doesn't want to take. This is not indifference. This is inner conflict, a split between the man he is becoming and the boy who still fears being seen. He wants to move forward, but something in him still kneels at the grave of an old self. And that self, the one who is overlooked, overgiven, overexplained, still believes love means losing control. So when you hold him with tenderness, he clenches. Not because he doesn't feel safe, but because safety was never a familiar feeling. And unfamiliarity feels dangerous, even when it's holy. You think your love will bring him peace, but peace is foreign to a man who's only ever known pursuit or punishment. So instead of relaxing into your arms, he stays alert, even in stillness, even in sleep, because part of him is waiting for the strike. He's not waiting for you to hurt him. He's waiting for reality to punish him for daring to believe in something gentle. And this war, it's exhausting. It's why he disappears after moments of closeness. It's why he fidgets in your silence. It's why he flinches when your love lands too deeply. He is torn between two timelines, one where love is duty, and one where love is grace. And he doesn't yet trust that he deserves the second, but he wants to. And wanting is the beginning. She is not better than you. She is not closer to his heart. But she got there first. She touched him before he had words, before he had boundaries, before he knew that love without safety becomes a cage dressed like devotion. He doesn't remember the pain clearly, not in detail, but in his body, he remembers everything. The way he had to guess how to be enough. The way her silence meant he had done something wrong. The way her approval became a drug he never stopped chasing. She is not the woman he wants, but she became the blueprint for how he receives love. And you don't follow that pattern. You offer presence without punishment, desire without demand, softness without consequence. And it confuses him, because with her, love was something to survive. With you, love becomes a mirror, one that reflects who he never got to be. He still dreams about her, but not because he misses her, because a part of him is still trying to finish the story, still trying to win, to prove, to rewrite the ending in his favor. You're not competing with her. You're standing beside the boy who still believes his worth lives in her forgiveness. But she never gave him closure. She gave him shame wrapped in memory. And now he carries it like a torch, not because he wants to return, but because the flame reminds him he once felt something, even if it burned. You love him in silence, but inside him, her name still echoes, not as a wish, but as a wound that has not yet been named. There was a moment he almost stayed. You felt it, that quiet shift, the way his breath slowed beside you, the way his guard softened just enough to let you see him whole. It was not a performance. It was not seduction. It was the most honest thing he had ever given you. He let you in, not fully, but enough to taste the life he doesn't yet believe he can live. And then he pulled away, not with cruelty, with quiet, with space, with a sudden distance that didn't match what had just passed between you. You blamed yourself. Maybe I asked for too much. Maybe I moved too fast. Maybe I loved him wrong. But the truth is simpler. He got scared. Because in that one moment, he saw the man he could become in your presence. The man who doesn't perform. The man who doesn't chase ghosts. the man who stays, and he didn't feel ready. Not because he doesn't love you, but because love like yours demands a death. A death of the story he's used to. A death of the masks that kept him safe. A death of the silent oath that said, never again. He almost stayed, because part of him is already yours. The part that aches for quiet, the part that longs for peace, the part that's tired of proving and hiding and needing and running. But his fear won. Not forever, just for now. Because something shifted in that moment. Something sacred opened. And no matter how far he runs, he will never forget how it felt to be seen without shame. He doesn't say it, but he loves you. Not loudly, not clearly, not in the way you want to be held, but in the way he knows how to survive it. He keeps you in the sacred part of his day, the quiet moments, the breath before sleep, the song he doesn't skip, because it sounds like the way you looked at him once. He doesn't tell his friends. He doesn't change his status. He doesn't offer you the rituals that would make you feel chosen. But make no mistake, you are always with him. In the way he replays your words when the world feels too loud. In the way he touches his chest when your memory flares behind his ribs. This is how men like him love. In secret, in silence, in the shadows where they feel less vulnerable. He's not hiding you because you don't matter. He's hiding himself. Because love like this feels too exposed, too raw, too easily destroyed. So instead of naming it, he stores it, tucks it behind old grief, wraps it in logic, masks it with distraction, but still, it breathes. You are the breath he doesn't admit taking, the hope he doesn't let rise above the surface, the ache he both resents and needs. And while he loves you in secret, you suffer in the open, holding a flame he won't reach for, singing to a man who doesn't answer, loving where no words are returned. But you are not crazy. You are not delusional. You are simply fluent in the language of unsaid things, and somewhere in him, he is learning your tongue. He'll tell himself it's not the right time, that he's not ready, that you need too much, that it's wiser to wait, to pull back, to think clearly. But beneath every excuse is one simple truth. He is afraid. Afraid of how much he feels. Afraid of what he'll have to become. Afraid that this time, if it breaks, there will be no self left to gather. So he speaks in reason. He builds a wall out of logic. He lists the distance, the timing, the differences. But his eyes betray him. Because you've already touched the part of him he can't rationalize, and it terrifies him. You didn't demand anything. You didn't ask for a future. You simply loved what he tried to hide. And that kind of love? It asks everything without saying a word. He tries to numb it, to plan around it, to keep it in a box labeled dangerous. But love doesn't stay boxed. It leaks. It lingers. It hums in the background of every quiet moment he thought he had control over. He speaks of logic, but he dreams of you. And dreams have no rules, no maps, no defenses. In dreams, you are already his. In dreams, he already stayed. In dreams, he has already forgiven himself for needing someone the way he needs you. So when he says, "I can't," hear the echo beneath it. I already have, and I don't know how to hold it. You think he moves on. You think he forgets. You imagine him laughing in someone else's arms, untouched by the ache that haunts your chest. But he doesn't forget. He fragments. He becomes quieter, sharper in the edges. more mechanical in the way he moves through the world. Because without you, he must return to the mask, the charming one, the capable one, the man who feels nothing too deeply. But it's all costume. Because after you, nothing fits quite right. He hears your voice in moments of stillness. He feels your absence like phantom light on his skin. And though he may reach for another, his soul does not respond. Because no one else awakens the part of him that met itself through your gaze. You were not a chapter. You were a mirror. And without that reflection, he becomes smaller. Not because you completed him, but because you reminded him of the self he almost believed in. Now, when he walks into rooms, he scans for echoes, a scent, a laugh, a softness that might remind him of the one woman who didn't ask him to perform, and he can't recreate it. Not because you were perfect, but because you were true. And truth, once tasted, cannot be replaced. It can only be missed, burned into memory, etched into choice. So while you ache in daylight, he aches in the dark, in the spaces no one sees, in the moments after he lies and says he's fine. Because without you, he isn't lost. He's simply unfinished. He always returns, like a tide that never forgets the shore, like a ghost who still remembers the scent of your skin. And every time, your heart skips. You wonder if this time will be different. If maybe, just maybe, he's finally chosen the life you glimpsed together. But he doesn't stay. He lingers. He looks at you like he never stopped loving you. He touches you like his hands remember something ancient. And then, he vanishes again. You feel foolish, used, abandoned. But you are none of those things. He doesn't come back to play. He comes back because part of him is starving. And you are the only place he ever felt fed. But to stay, to truly stay, he would have to break a vow he doesn't even remember making. A vow that says, love is a currency. That needing is weakness. That receiving without suffering is impossible. You offer him peace, and he mistrusts it. You offer him softness, and it disorients him. Because the love he was taught to believe in was filled with conditions, silence, and guilt. So he leaves. Not because you are wrong, but because you are too right for the version of him that still lives in hiding. He hasn't chosen between you and another woman. He's choosing between the man he could become and the man he promised never to be again. The one who feels, the one who risks, the one who stays. And until he forgives himself for needing love that deeply, he will always come back hungry, but never stay to be fed. He may not say it, he may not act on it, but somewhere deep inside him, he already knows that what he felt with you wasn't a coincidence, knows that the silence he drowned in was never louder than the stillness of your gaze, knows that love, real love, doesn't chase, it reveals. And you revealed him. Not the man he shows the world, but the one beneath the armor. The one who still remembers being left behind. The one who wants to be chosen without having to earn it. There is a knowing in his bones that resists being forgotten. A knowing that rises when he tries to bury you, that hums beneath every half-love he entertains, that returns when he closes his eyes and sees your face instead. He tells himself, you were a moment. But the truth is, you are a mirror. And mirrors cannot be unseen. You did not teach him this knowing. You awakened it by being what he didn't expect, by loving without condition, by seeing what he was too afraid to show. And even if he walks away, even if years pass, even if he never returns, he will never be untouched by the woman who reminded him of his truth. Because once a man has been seen, he cannot go back to being invisible. Not fully, not forever. He already knows. In the part of him that dreams, in the part of him that watches the door after you've gone, in the part of him that aches when nothing else should. And that knowing is the seed he cannot unplant. You became the silence inside his longing, the stillness beneath every noise he chased, the only thing that ever felt real when the world demanded a mask. He may never return. He may never find the courage to stay, but he will carry you. In the way he softens without knowing why, in the way he hesitates before hurting someone, in the way he finally lets someone touch what you first made visible. You were not a phase, you were not a lesson, you were a threshold, and crossing you changed him. Not into the man you needed, but into the man he must now face in every mirror that reflects what he left behind. He will build a life. He may find comfort. He may even smile in photographs. But beneath it all, you will live. Not as regret, not as punishment, but as the truth that cracked open his silence and gave his soul a name. He loved you in the only way he could. And you loved him with hands that asked for nothing but truth. That love does not vanish. It echoes, it shapes, it sanctifies. You were never waiting to be chosen. You were choosing yourself all along. And now, the ache becomes a compass. The memory becomes a shrine. The story becomes a song only you understand. You were not the woman he lost. You were the woman who saw him before he remembered how. And somewhere in him, your name is still the prayer he never learned to say out loud.